In this video, we're going to talk about how to use the command line to run your programs. The focus of this video will primarily be on C, but we're going to tie it back to Java, assuming that most of you have had some sort of Java background. If you've done Java programming before, the way you run your program is you type it into Eclipse, then you press the play button to run it, and you get your output in this window. Now in C, we're doing things a little bit differently. Now here I have just a simple hello world, and the way I'm going to execute that is first I need to compile it. So I'll say gcc hello.c, and then I press enter. Now you may say, okay, but nothing happened here, but that's not quite correct. If I take a look at this file a.out, you'll notice that it was created March 14th at 12:53, and it's 12:54 right now. So this file was just created when I did this compilation, and I run it by giving it its file name. Since I'm in Unix, I also have to give it the directory. Dot is the current directory, and here we have hello world. So this is how we compile and run our C code. Now, there are IDEs like Eclipse that you can use to write C code or C++ code. There's nothing magical about using GCC or Ubuntu or any type of Linux. It's just how I'm choosing to do it right now. And since these are small programs, this is a reasonable way to do it. So let's take a step back and look at the whole process from code to execution. The first thing you have to do is edit the code. That's what you're doing in the editor, whether it's an IDE or whether it's the editor that you prefer. Then you have to compile it. That creates something that can actually run on your computer. What happens here depends a lot on the language you're using, the specific environment you're using. So I'm going to just hand wave over it right now. We take your code and we convert it somehow to something that can be run. It could also be interpreted as well. Again, we're hand waving over this. There's other resources talking about what goes on at this step. But then once we have that, then we can actually run the code. And then, of course, we'll probably have to debug it. But again, even debugging, you're still following these same steps. So we saw how that happened with C. But then what about Java? Well, in Java, this is our editor. When we hit the play button, we're running it. But behind the scenes, it's doing a compilation. It's building it into a class file, and then it runs it as well. So it's doing more than one thing when we click that button. So the question is, why do we compile in C and just hit the play button in Java? And the answer is, we can do both in either language. So here is a Java program. And what I can do is I can call the Java compiler, give it the name of the program. And again, you may say, wait, nothing happened. But if I ask it to show me all the command line files, notice I have a brand new command line.class file. So if I say Java command line, notice now it runs it. So it's the same process we did with C, only now we're doing it with Java. We're compiling, then we're running it. Now Java is the Java virtual machine. It runs the command line class file. And so there's a lot going on under the hood here, even still, that we haven't talked about. But one of the reasons I think it's important to learn how to compile at the command line is because it gives you some experience with really what's going on behind the scenes underneath the hood so that you can more thoroughly understand how your programs are being generated. And that can help you with certain kinds of errors in your code. So now we've seen that you can compile at the command line with Java just like you can in C. So then the question is, can you use an IDE with C? And the answer is absolutely. So for example, here we have IntelliJ, which is another Java IDE that you can use. And the same company has a C IDE that works pretty much the same way that you can use to write your C programs. And you can see that these two IDEs are very similar in how they work and how they look. So if you really want to use an IDE for C, you could. You could use Eclipse, or you could use CLion, or any other one that's out there. Same for Java. There's IntelliJ, there's Eclipse. That's really just a matter of preference. But the point of this video is to show that even if you're using an IDE, behind the scenes, there's something going on that it's important for you as a programmer to understand.